Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm sitting here eating breakfast, feeling pretty good. My food's gonna get cold because I decided I wanted to talk. But there are a couple players that have their player option. Of course, we talked about that at the beginning of the video yesterday. Encourage everybody to check out that Laker talk video, chat video. But a few others, of course, D'Angelo Russell we're waiting on. I'm sure he's going to make his decision at some point. His decision has been reported on, but I just don't trust that reporting. I thought the timing of it is funny. I thought the desire for him to drop his player option or decline it doesn't make much sense to me. So I'm still assuming against that report that his decision is yet to be made. And he showed a post yesterday. We was landing on the top of Crypto.com arena with his helicopter. That doesn't seem like a guy who's leaving for some chance at probably getting a little more money elsewhere. I don't know. I don't get the feeling he wants to actually leave. I really don't. And I'd be happy to have him back next year, just with a revamped vision for his piece, particularly backup shooting guard, microwave scorer rather than starting point guard. If you can just put him in a position to where you're only asking him to do what it is that he does, which is shoot the ball, and if the shots don't fall, probably make some assists happen. Other than that, I'm not asking him to play any defense. I'm not asking him to run the offense. From within his position, he certainly can, and I'm not going to try to muffle him from making plays, but I'm not asking him to be my main point guard at all. I'm certainly not asking him to do defensive things. So if we can bring in a coach that has a different vision for this guy, that would be great to have him back, in my opinion. $20 million ain't the worst thing in the world for what it is I expect for him to do. His inconsistencies are things we just have to guard against by filling out the roster in other ways. So, but the player that really prompted me to talk right now, I was listening to Trevor Lane talk about Jackson Hayes, and he would probably either put Jackson Hayes or Christian Wood up for a trade. I don't doubt that we can upgrade there, but I look at Jackson Hayes as somebody who showed me last year that his development is going upward. His trajectory is headed upward. The worst of Jackson Hayes is behind us, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be worse. And I see little things in his game, like the ability to steal the ball, his high percentages shooting around the rim, layups and things like that, dunks. It's a high percentage, very efficient player in that way. I think he can help us, man. And with the length that he provides, especially since it's going to be so difficult for us to fill out our roster, talking about mortgaging all types of picks, regardless if we are going the 3-star model or depth model, I don't think I should be getting rid of a big, especially in this era, whose trajectory is headed upward, even if that floor is low and the ceiling is kind of low to a degree. I think we're going to see a good player develop over the next 3 years with Jackson Hayes. I don't think he's going to be asked to be an all-star or anything like that, but he plays with a lot of energy, and if he could just stay out of foul trouble, you start to see some of those things that I just mentioned be there for you. Pick and roll guy, lob threat, a highly athletic center. I don't think we saw the best out of him last year, and I want to see the best out of him in our uniform. When you're talking about what the NBA is about to be, which is young teams and young players winning, which is what it looks like this playoffs is about and probably the years ahead, you don't want to let go of guys who are young, who have shown you glimpses of being better than what your expectations are for them, especially when you're built around older guys. So for me, Jackson Hayes is a bring back guy. Assuming he's opting in, which I think he will, I'm not quick to just throw him into a trade to get a role player or something like that. I'm gonna bank on his upside, and I'm gonna bank on the need for size. And I'm going to continue to bring size to me. I'm not asking him to have a real role, a big role next year, or nothing like that. But I'm keeping Wood and Jackson Hayes. I'm keeping both of those players. They're arguably going to be great contracts if they both play well. We got a new coach who, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, will know how to use them better than Darvin did in bringing in a coach and hiring the right guy. And I don't think that moving on from that piece in this league at this time makes the best sense for our franchise. You know, I think he's going to be a real role player for us in the future if we just continue to keep him on good contracts and allow him to make the mistakes necessary in developing, because that's really what it is. It's a development process for a lot of our guys. And when you consider the fact that we're looking for depth, you need guys like that who you know next year are going to play better than they did last year, so long as they stay out of foul trouble. And as long as you keep your expectations low, you got a good thing going for yourself. So that's what I want to say about Jaxson Hayes. I'm not on board with just throwing him into something unless it's absolutely necessary. You get the right trade going on, anybody can go, to be honest with you. I'm not a fool. There are other players out there that can make me feel just as good about that as he does. But, you know, I've seen glimpses of what Jaxson Hayes can be. Glimpses. And those glimpses make me very positive about bringing him back. Have good thoughts about bringing him back. So, no, I don't want to get rid of Jaxson Hayes. I really don't. As long as his contract makes sense, which it looks like he's going to be making, what, $2 million, something like that. That's a great piece for a team that's going to struggle to build depth. So that's what I want to say, man. I saw enough from him in the limited minutes that he provided to know that he's not somebody we need to be giving away. When you're going up against bigs, teams with bigs, no, you need to keep your bigs. The ones that don't cost anything, you need to keep them around. Word to the wise. You look at what Minnesota has down there. You look at, you know, Golden's OKC, who has Chet Holmgren, obviously Wembanyama out there, and Sengun and Derek Lively, and all these different dudes that are huge. You don't let guys whose trajectory going up at the center position go out. You don't do that, especially when they're young and athletic. Nah, they don't do that. So hold on to him and continue to work on him. He needs to have a good off season, working on his game. I wouldn't suggest that he take too much time to go to Cancun or nothing like that. A dude like that needs to be working on his game and his conditioning, so that he can capitalize on his potential. Because he's already behind schedule, given the fact that he didn't have a good start with New Orleans, but he looked good with us. And I think next year could be a big year for him really showing who exactly he can be. So that's what it is, man. Continue to work on his game and keep him around. So, yeah, I'm keeping both of my centers, man. I'm not letting any centers leave my team right now. I'm sorry. I'm still center shopping, but it won't be me choosing to let go of bigs. Not when you got the problems we got. Hell no. Keeping Castleton. I'm keeping Wood. I'm keeping Hayes. And we'll fill out the rest of the roster with wings and point guards, but you know what I'm saying? The two-way guys are necessary, and I do believe that Jaxson Hayes has shown me he could be some two-way, have two-way ability, particularly when he's scoring the ball. And then on the defensive side, he's extremely disruptive with his length and his speed in the open court. So catching lobs, stuff like that. So that's really what it is. I'm not giving away anything two-way. If anything, I'm looking to improve upon that and bring myself more two ways. And that's what, you know, I was listening to those guys, Trevor Lane and the guys on the panel, talking about what doesn't work versus what does in regards to the roster building, which is the same idea we have. It just doesn't make any sense for us to be mortgaging picks to get a 3-star situation going for ourselves when the league is built a certain way to keep us from being able to do that. That's established. Everybody talks about that. If the Lakers want to swallow that poison pill, they're going to pay for it just like every other team that does. There are no teams out there that have that model still around in the playoffs today. They're all gone. And because of it, we need to understand that and know what our ceiling is if we were to build something like that. Even if you bring a star that you really, really like, if you still got Bron and AD on the team eating up half the cap, your team is going to look like crap around those 3 guys. It doesn't work. Not in this league. So if you want to get depth, it looks like, you know, your free agency process doesn't look all that promising, so you're probably going to have to trade some future assets to get depth. I think the opposite. Not to say that I'm right in the sense that we can just simply snap our finger and do that. But what I'm seeing is a Minnesota team who has the closest thing to looking like a 3-star model. But what they were able to accomplish is drafting most of those players. McDaniels, of course, they got him in the draft through us. I didn't even know that. I had completely forgotten, if not never knew, that we drafted Jaden McDaniels. I don't think I even knew that. But they got him in the draft, and his bird rights and all that comes directly to them on draft night. They drafted Naz Reid. They drafted Anthony Edwards. They drafted Karl Towns. That's the crux of what it is that they have as it pertains to their biggest, strongest talent is players that they drafted. So if that's the model that's going to give you the best chance at a super team, then sending out picks is not going to give you what you need to defeat a team like that. It's the same thing I said about Golden State. Yeah, Golden State had Kevin Durant come in as a transplant, but Draymond drafted second round. Clay drafted. Steph drafted. You see what I'm saying? So it's like if you want to have a super team, the best way to assure that you have that is to have drafted most of the guys that are super. And if you're mortgaging picks, you're doing the opposite. That's why I think a team like Houston is going to be dangerous, because all them dudes that they got, they drafted, and they got them all in some really wild, wacky ways. So 2 years from now, when they're in the NBA Finals, everybody should be just not even blinking. Same thing with OKC. Look at all that they have that they drafted. Giddey was theirs. J-Dub was theirs. Who else? Chet is theirs. Shea came in off a trade in his first year, so that he was sort of considered a transplant, but he came early. You know, they were able to develop him in their organization. That stands for something in the sense of the continuity. So it's like, if you don't have 3 out of the 4 guys being drafted dudes, then chances are your team is going to have to go without depth in order to hold that type of star power. You look at the rest of their bench. They have a deep team on OKC, one of the deepest teams in the league, and all those super players. Why? Because they drafted most of them too. They are hoarding picks and have been hoarding picks, and that's where all the depth is. They don't have to go get it from somebody else. They don't have to trade away what they can't afford to trade away to get depth. They played the long game and made sure that all the depth and stars that they needed came into their organization outright, and then brought themselves maybe 1 or 2 transplants, and that's it. Look at Boston. Same thing. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They drafted them dudes. It ain't nothing to keep them and pay them and all that and give them $300 million contracts and still have a deep team. Granted, they're not overly deep, but they are super souped up to where they traded away some of their depth to get the other stars, the Derek Whites and the Drew Holidays and all of that. They came off of their depth to provide themselves that model. So now they have a super starting 5 and a couple good bench players. They drafted Peyton Pritchard. You see what I'm saying? They respected his upside when he wasn't averaging nothing but 2 points, and now look at where they're at with him. He looks like he could be a starter in most places. He's going to be a 6th man of the year candidate over the next 4 years. Like, this is the type of stuff that you have to do if you really want to be a souped up team. Because if you try to skip steps, as we talk about all the time, your team is going to look like Phoenix. Your team's going to look like Brooklyn a couple years ago. Your team's going to look like us, unfortunately, without the depth that we need. It doesn't work. And if your next move is to continue to mortgage picks to fill out a roster for a certain year, you're not getting it. And you're going to make more go wrong for yourself. So that's really what I want to say to the Lakers. It's like, look, as I always say, you got to know what it takes to get what you want. If you're trying to get something done, if you're doing it the wrong way, it's not going to get done. And right now we're working from a minus position in regards to building our team. So the best thing for the Lakers to do is to rebuild, to not keep this core, but to let it go. Bring yourself the requisite amount of picks to build something like OKC, like Houston, like Minnesota, like Golden State, like Boston. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And that way, 3 years from now, you're in a position to say, I have a super team with depth. Otherwise, you're building your super team without depth, or your team ain't very super. Either way, you're going to be mediocre because of what you did today. So that's the logic, man. I hope the Lakers are paying attention to what's going on around here. Teams that have drafted their own guys are doing the best. The only team that I look at that didn't have that going on is the New York Knicks. And they're working in a situation where they're playing people 48 minutes a game so they don't have to expose that lack of depth. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. So that's somewhat of an optical illusion. But you got to draft the guys. And when you get the guys you drafted, you can't just trade them away, you know, or let them walk. You know, a guy like Max Christie, this is where your depth is going to be 3 years from now. By keeping Max Christie, hopefully he re-signs with us, and developing him through here. Austin Reeves, same thing. You don't move Austin Reeves. You keep Austin Reeves because he makes up the depth that tomorrow is going to bring. You know what I mean? All these guys that we drafted, they are important. They're important. Some of the transplants, not as. Just being honest. You need the guys that you drafted to develop properly, stay on your team, and come up through your organizations so they can slot in as your 5th guy, your 6th guy, your 7th guy. And when you do continue to draft players, you can find yourself in a position of strength from your cap's perspective. So that's what I want to say, man. Keep your young guys. Some of the ones that we didn't gave away 4 and 5 picks for, like Rui Hachimura, probably want to hold on to him, let him develop here, let him come his best self, and have the vision of him being your 5th best guy or your 4th best guy as you continue to try to build depth. And if you don't, then you're not going to be as good as the teams who were patient enough and ready to do that, I guess you could say. The teams that mortgage everything don't have anything. The teams that took their time, swallowed the bad years, and developed their own homegrown drafted players over time, accumulated everybody else's picks, and drafted those guys outright are the teams that are going to be the future now. And now, this is where it is. So I look at a team like the Portland Trailblazers. They're doing it right. They're swallowing these years so that they could put something together. And about 4 years from now, you're going to see what they put together. If it's good, they'll be right there in the mix. Washington, same thing. They're doing it the right way. Charlotte, right now, they're doing it the right way. Keep on accumulating the 1st overall pick, 2nd overall pick, and you're going to find yourself where Minnesota is. Karl Towns with the 1st overall pick. Anthony Edwards, 1st overall pick. You could argue they got lucky. Sometimes when you do that, you end up like the New York Knicks and keep getting 6 and 7. But if you do it the right way, you're going to end up in a good space. Detroit, you know, they got their homegrown guys, even though it was a horrible, despicable year last year. The guys that they got on their team, they're not getting any worse. And they got another pick coming this year, assuming they get it from New York or whatever. Whatever their circumstance, the point is most of what they're going to have going forward was homegrown drafted. So it's like those are the teams that you're going to be competing with in the future. And if you mortgage everything right now, you're going to be bad those years too. When those teams are rising, you're still going to be bad. And so it's like, you know, I like what we've had, but I don't think it's worth swallowing a poison pill to keep together. Not if you're actually trying to win. Now, if you're trying to put yourself in a position to just be relevant, which it looks like the Lakers are obsessed with, then you're going to be irrelevant tomorrow because of what you did today to stay relevant. It's not going to get any better for you. It's not going to get any easier for you. You have to swallow some years at some point. Now, maybe you don't want it to be this year, but you ain't going to want it to be those years either. So it's never going to be a good time to rebuild as it pertains to what you desire, if this is your desire. You want to be good all the damn time? The NBA has made it so that you can't. That's the point. That's the CBA was built around keeping you, Lakers, from doing that. And the only way you're going to actually get there is if you fall in line like everybody else, swallow a few years, suck for a few years, get the best picks you can, and build righteously in that way. This is how they force you to build. So rather than going against that, I say go with it. I don't see anything wrong with it, really. There's going to be a lot of great talent coming into the league, and we're going to have an opportunity to have it. We're sucking any damn way. We're not winning nothing right now, so might as well have something to show for it, man. That's my attitude. What, you want me to lose in the first round and be excited about that while all the best talent goes to other places? Nah, lose all year long. Give me the 1st overall pick and let me be excited about that. You know what I'm saying? I personally think, obviously the Lakers are in a tough spot because they don't get their pick next year. We say it a million times, if the New Orleans Pelicans give us our pick this year, then we give it to them next year. After that, we're out from under them. And we have to deal with that in 27, which was a product of the Russell Westbrook trade. We had to give Utah our 1st overall pick for 2027 for us to get all these guys like Vando, D'Lo, and Beasley and all that trade. So, you know, that Russell Westbrook trade is still going to hurt us, even after we get out from under this New Orleans nonsense. So, you know what I'm saying? That's why I don't want to mortgage any more picks. You see how frustrating that is when you consider it? And now you're telling me we're going to give away more picks I don't want to do that, man. I want to get out from under these teams that keep on having a choice of whether or not they want to let us have our pick or not, or we can't have our pick a certain year. And we've been able to make it not so bad because we've had LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But if those guys move on, or if something happens where you have a really bad year, somebody get hurt, and you win only 35 games, your team, you're going to wish you had your own pick, man. So I don't know, man. I just think that that's what we should be doing. If you want to get a guy or some guys that you think you can trade to get first picks from others when you retrade them, then that's the only that I guess could be cool. Like if you're bringing in Trae Young this year, you run him around for 1 year, and then next year you trade him to Utah for like 3 picks. Okay, maybe that's how you do it. But as I always say, when you ask a guy to do too much, you run the risk of him wearing down. So if you're going to put him on a team where he's going to be playing with a bunch of guys that are not very good, then he's going to have to play a lot, and he might wear down. So you're asking him you're asking for him to do more than he probably should be asked to do, and with the intention of being able to trade him as a healthy piece. Now, maybe in that he's being asked to do too much, he's able to rise his value as it pertains to his stats, since he's shooting all the shots and has a ball in his hands. But in this specific situation, will he have the ball in his hands, or will he be standing in the corner waiting for somebody to give it to him with Bron and AD controlling everything? I don't know if that's the right setup to bring a guy to you in hopes of raising his value from where it is right now to retrade him in a couple years or whatever for picks. I just don't know that we have that setup that can make that just inevitable. So mortgaging picks feels like a bad deal. What doesn't feel like a bad deal is resetting. It don't feel like a bad deal at all. I could swallow this year, have a couple bad guys on this team this year, be bad this year. Well, and then see that's when it comes down to you don't have your pick for that process. So that's why mortgaging the picks is frustrating, because you can't just tank. Now you gotta try to win this year because you don't have your pick either way. But 2026 for me, next season, after this upcoming season, that's a tank year if they're doing things correctly, man. We wiping everything out. We're gonna try to make sure that 26 overall in that year we have the best pick possible, man. And it's a damn shame that the big name is supposed to come out next year, if I'm not mistaken. Cooper Flag, that's who you want to have on your team. But unfortunately, that's the year we're not going to have a pick. So I'm telling y'all, man, if everything was perfect, the Lakers would not have made that Russell Westbrook trade, giving away no first overall pick. We would have our pick for 27, we'd have our pick for 26, and we could tank both years. That would be a perfect thing for me. We could do this last hurrah with LeBron James, not bringing him nothing, not mortgaging nothing. Just go out there and have a 1 more year with the Lakers. Sign a 1-year deal. After that, moving on. Anthony Davis, we trading you at the end of the season or at the trade deadline this year for all of those picks. I'm kidding you not. I'm moving on, man, because at the end of the day, I know I can't build nothing that makes it make sense for those guys to be running around. And I'm just waiting on them to either fizzle out in the first round next year or get injured halfway through the year trying to drag garbage, which is what we're signing up for now, whether people know it or not. So for me, it's like, nah, I can't do that. What I can do, though, is reset. Now, if I trade AD right now, obviously we don't have our own pick this year, so your own ineptitude doesn't help you. But at least if you trade him for the right pieces, you can trade him for a bunch of stuff that you can use to reset. You could have a bunch of picks from somewhere else, but again, you're going to suck for no reason. And you're going to be helping somebody else with a good pick when you do that. So it's like, you know what I mean? It would be great if New Orleans would just take this pick this year. That would be really good if we could somehow make it so that they do. Entice them to do so we can have our pick next year. And if that would be the case, if they take this pick this year, I'm resetting right now. Start over. Boom. Because we have 25 and 26 to tank. And I'm tanking both of those years hard. And I'm going to get the best possible picks at those years. And I'm keeping those guys, whoever they are. And then we can go big game hunting after that. 27, summer 27, summer 26. Big game hunting after we get those 2 picks. And if you really want to be weird about it, you can trade them 2 dudes for another star and then have like another big 3 thing if you want to go that stupid route. But at least you have more to build with than you do right now. So I'm telling y'all, my plan is not gonna make a whole lot of people happy with the product on the floor next year, because I'm trying to go with the current of the CBA, and I'm not gonna be moving forward with LeBron at 40 years old, just so he can not have enough every year. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's best for him. I don't think it's best for us. I really don't. And Anthony Davis, like I said, if we had other diversified stuff, I could build on top of Anthony Davis, but he makes up the other half of our cap. So if I want to be any kind of decent or build any type of pick equity, he has to go. Lord knows I'm not really big on moving a piece like that. I think he's one of the best defenders to ever play, and capable of scoring 50 points if he wants to. So no, I never want to move Anthony Davis, nor do I think I can replace him. But I also can't win with him at this point, based on how we have to build. So, salute the Kobe minute that passed a minute ago. I hate forgetting that, but I wanted to acknowledge him. But you know how it is, man. If you really want to win, you just got to sacrifice for that. And it seems like the Lakers front office organization doesn't want to sacrifice. They want a mortgage so they can put up the guys that they have enough, when you know damn well all your fans that have any understanding of how to build in this league are telling you, man, no. It doesn't work, bro. Y'all can do that, but you're not fooling any of us, because we are the ones telling you it doesn't work. So when you do it, you're going to be disappointing us. Not making us happy, not making us want to pay for the tickets and none of that, bro. We're not going to be good enough. We're going to be like Phoenix. And you see where Phoenix is at. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching.